Good morning, folks. This is Jason Wampler. Another episode of Dime Store Psychology. It's 11:19 a.m. January the 20th, I believe, 2021. Pacific Standard Time. Of course, I'm here in Costa Mesa, California, in my office / bedroom. I've got a lot to say, and I don't want to make this a political talk show, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut about that. But again, I really laid into this whole Karen and Kevin subject yesterday, and I kind of want to expound on that. I don't want to retract on any of my statements. But I do want to say this. I don't want people who watch this program to get the wrong impression, like I'm offering one-way criticism, and I don't understand or sympathize with people who are creating Karen situations. I do notice that with young folks, they tend to really want to go with their programming when they're at the job. But if you say something that causes them to open up, then it does actually get them drawn out, and they start mentioning and talking about things in an intelligent manner, and they are thoughtful. But again, listen, kids, I'm 51 years old. If you display mannerisms that indicate you just can't think, you're going to set Kevin's and Karen's off. You're going to make them. So, in an effort to bring people together instead of tearing people apart, try to display thought patterns that reflect logic and regularity, and that you're really trying to help them out. Now, I've got extreme light sensitivity, and I think I have to close the curtains. I've been having this the last couple of days. This is a very unusual winter for California. The sun is unusually bright, and I'm getting light sensitivity. I'm getting a lot of sleep, but anyway, while I'm 51 years old, this stuff happens. There's some other things that I wanted to talk about too. So we're going to leave that for a while. There's actually two more things I want to talk about, so we may go into overtime today. There's something called rank and file. Now, I'm not military, but my father, Clinton Samuel Armstrong, shout out to him. I love him. He was in war in Vietnam. My grandfather passed away, Edwin Lamar Wampler. He was in World War II in Korea, and I learned something about rank and file. You have to understand who is the highest ranking officer in the room at any and all times, and you have to understand your particular position relative to that person as well. You have to understand your position. With rank and file, you have to understand there's a I don't like the phrase pecking order, but there's a higher up, there's an official, there's a ranking officer, the second ranking officer, and you may just be the buck private. So you got to know your place while you're in the room. Now, but here's the thing, though. When you recognize the authority of other people and you say yes, sir, no, sir, you don't have to be military, but you do fall in line, and things take place in an orderly fashion. Every group needs one leader, not 2, 3, or 4. And wars aren't won by committee; they're won by generals who direct soldiers. But I don't endorse military activity myself either. But I have different personal viewpoints on it as well. When when you say yes or no, sir, you understand your relative position to them. The other thing is, when you're on the phone with customer service, you have to recognize these people are trying to do you a favor. They're doing something for you. They're helping you out, so you have to show appreciation as well. Now, the other thing is, with the Karens and the Kevins, I'm going to lay into the Karens and Kevins now and tell them, look, you're in somebody else's house. You're there with other people. You're in a restaurant. You're in a grocery facility. You're at the Walmart. You have to understand that's not your property. That's somebody else's. And you're there with other people who are the same rank as you, who are customers. Now, as such, you don't own that place. You are a visitor and a guest. You have to show respect and decorum as a visitor and guest. If an employee of the facility you're visiting asks you to do something, you have to comply because they have a relative amount of authority because they work there. You do not. So a store manager has the highest amount of authority, second only to the local police department, to ask you to leave. You are now trespassing on private property. You need to leave. That store manager, in my opinion, has the right to physically defend himself or other employees or other customers in the store if you decide to get out of hand and get physical. There's no walking away from certain Karens and Kevins who want to lay hands on other folks and yell and scream at them profanities and tell them they need Jesus Christ, they need to become Christians. By the way, that's not proselytizing. That smacks the Holy Crusades, and that's false Christianity. I don't like that either, and that's all I'm going to say about religion in this one. But you have to respect the fact that there's a chain of command. When you go shopping somewhere, you don't own the place. You don't own the parking lot. You don't own the groceries on the shelf. You don't own the cashier stations. You don't own the building. You don't own the business. So your rank is as private or buck private. The officers you're dealing with are the employees and the store manager. They can tell you to do anything they want. They can reserve the right to refuse service to you, and if that's the case, you got to go. You got to get out of there. You don't have any rights on somebody else's private property where you don't work there, you don't own the place. So you got to get you Karens and Kevins. You got to get this through your head. Okay, you're not going to call the FBI. You're not going to direct them and tell them how to do their jobs, irregardless of how stupid they may come across. Rank and file, folks. Bottom line is, Karens and Kevins, you're human beings too, but you got to realize your position relative to theirs when you're in their store. Much less you need to understand how to show respect and decorum, and again, realize the situation you're in. You're in somebody else's house. Okay, you can't demand your rights if they ask you to leave. They're within their rights to actually probably even taser you, subdue you, wrestle you to the ground, pick you up, hog tie you, and literally throw you outside off of their private property, because that is their right, whether or not you realize that or not. So again, but a lot of people don't realize that because they haven't been through basic, or they simply haven't had adequate parental input and training. But you have to respect other people who outrank you. You're in their house. You can't make demands of somebody when you're in their house. It's their house. They have the authority to ask you to leave. And they have the authority to get physical with you and pick you up, hog tie you, and throw you out in a public area of the street and make you leave. They have the right to do that. But they don't want to because they don't want to be physically violent. But again, I'm kind of going back and forth. I want to assure you that I'm the go-between. But all these Karens are getting physical and vociferous. Unfortunately, some of these restaurant workers and store employees, they lower themselves to your level. All they have to do is get some type of taser and simply zap you unconscious and tie you up hand and foot with some zip ties and get security to pick your stupid unconscious carcass out and put it on a public sidewalk and leave you there, and then cut your zip ties loose and let you regain consciousness 20 minutes later to the point where you figure out what the hell is going on. The store managers and store employees, and even some of the customers who have enough strength to subdue you when you're getting physical and disrupting the peace and creating disturbance, even they can be deputized to get you the hell out of the store. It is not your store. It's not your property. You don't work there. You don't own the place. You're just a customer. You're in somebody else's house. And that's just it. They have the right to physically subdue you, neutralize you, tie you up, and throw you off their property and leave you there. And then they can call the police, and then the police can maybe come by and uncuff you or cut your zip ties off. They have every right to do that. And if you don't like that, go to the 9 o'clock news and complain about it. The fact is, if you're black or white, Hispanic, male or female, young or old, most of the Karens I see, they're Caucasian American, they're white, they're between the ages of 28 and 55. With regularity, and I played. I espoused on some sympathy for the devil and a couple other episodes. Yeah, I do understand where they're coming from, but you Karens, you gotta understand. If you're on a public beach, you have no authority. If you're in somebody's property, you have no authority. If you're in a Walmart, you have no authority. Okay, if you're on a public street and across the street from a neighbor's house and you're yelling at the neighbor in their driveway about how smelly or loud their car is, you have no authority. You can't keep entitling yourself and filling yourself up with authority you do not have, because you're in somebody else's house, you're on private property, or you're on public property. Karens, I got to tell you, you don't even own the diapers you're wearing, okay? And that goes for the Kevins too. I've seen some really funny looking Kevins that are their head. they have no neck, and their head flares into their shoulders. And I'm thinking, this one guy was in a jewelry store. He looked like he had Down syndrome. He was partially mentally retarded. But boy, he was loud. He was violent. He was vociferous. He challenged the clerk to a couple of fights, and he made a posture like he was going to beat him with his fist, and he stormed out. The man actually looked like he was partially mentally retarded. So it is the manager's discretion to determine, are you a threat? Should you be physically subdued and physically thrown out of the store onto private property and then call the police? Or should he just hold you still and then call the police and have them physically subdue you and throw you off the private property? But either way, Kevin's and Karen's, you're on private property. You have no rights. You have no rank. You can't storm into somebody's house and in their living room start yelling and screaming at the children and the wife and the rest of the residents of the house when you don't own the place, figuratively speaking. So get out. You have to show respect, or you have to get the hell out and go somewhere else. Take your problem somewhere else. So I'm just playing, I'm playing both sides to kind of get everybody a mellow, well-rounded viewpoint. I'm not taking anybody's side. I'm just trying to get people to think and come together. This is what the purpose of Dinosaur Psychology is about. So anyway, so you guys have got to mellow out. Okay, you don't own the planet. You're not that entitled, and certain groups feel, that they're entitled, and they're not. I mean, 6, 7, 8, 10 generations later, you're working stiffs, 9-to-5ers like everybody else. We're all rats in a cage. We don't deserve more or better or special treatment when we're equal. Like George Orwell's book, The Animal Farm, when the pigs wrote on the wall. The pigs were the ruling class that they ousted the farmer from his farm. And they wrote something on the wall, and never forget. All animals are created equal. However, some animals are more equal than others. So that's a misnomer. So nobody's above anybody else. Nobody's more equal than anybody else. Equal rights, equal treatment doesn't mean special rights and special treatment. And that goes for every single group of individuals in the United States of America. Anyway, excuse me, I have to drink because I have to wet my mouth. Well, it's exceptionally dry today, and my mouth is dry. I talk so much, I even dry up my saliva because I'm a motor mouth. But 51 years of age, I kind of have some stuff to think about. Or, excuse me, well, I have a lot to think about because my mind won't switch off. But I have a lot to say. Now, we're at the 12-minute mark. I do want to give some advice. I'm almost inclined to do this show 2 times a day. 10 minutes at a time. So I think that's what I'm going to do around between 10 and 11 a.m. We'll do a regular morning edition of Dinosaur Psychology. At night, after I get back from a Thoncha High School parking lot, an attempt to continue building my my highly sophisticated, complicated, expensive, and time-consuming sounding rockets for scientific research and data collection. Between 1 and 2 o'clock a.m., I'm gonna shoot another video, a second episode of Dinosaur Psychology. Because I'm kind of feeling the wind in my sails in this one. But the second episode in the morning will be aimed and directed towards helping women understand and get along with men. So I don't understand women. I'm trying to be a student of female psychology, but I do understand men. I am one. I've been one for 51 years. I came out of my mother's womb that way, and I'm seeing something tragic on the single scene that women, they're distressed because they can't find good men. And now it's gotten to the point where they can't find men at all. And I want to help you out with that. Because, ladies, in all honesty, I kind of don't believe that women outnumber men right now. I'm just not seeing the facts, figures, and numbers. I could be wrong. I'm not a genealogist, a lot of life scientist. I'm not a census technician. But, I see as many men as I do see women. Sometimes I see slightly more women than men at the Home Depots or Stater Brothers, my favorite grocery store, at 10 o'clock on a Friday, Saturday night, when, they want to go out and they want to partner up. And ladies, I want to tell you too, men need women. Men need you just as much as you may think or feel you need them. So let's bring each other together. But anyway, my phone is making a weird noise and starting to flash, so I better quit it. That's it. We're at the 14-minute mark. Anyway, I'll see you again tomorrow morning. That will be Thursday, between 1 and 2 a.m. for a second installment for women of Dinosaur Psychology. Thank you very much.